We're talking about speculation about the past. We're not talking about real observations in the present. None of the major steps of evolution have ever been recapitulated in the lab.
The biggest problem for evolution is how life got started.
What Darwin's really proposing, humans came from some ape-like creature.
There's just no evidence to support that humans and chimps share a common ancestor.
How do you resolve that paradox?
We see repeated instances of corroborating what is in the book of Genesis.
Mount St. Helens demonstrates that much geological work can be done in a very short amount of time.
We found soft tissue in many different specimens from different fossil sites all over the world.
The real issue is, do the laws of physics and chemistry in our universe permit life to come from non-life? And all of our scientific observations are indicating that the answer is no.
Darwin gave a test for evolution. He said if you find something, some species, some part of a species out there that you can't build step by tiny step, then my theory is a failure. So by Darwin's own pen, evolution should be rejected.
This has profound implications. It means that this assumption that the secular scientists have been using for the last 100 years is wrong.
Do fossils really show that creatures gradually evolved from simple to complex? The late fossil expert and evolution defender Stephen Gould recognized they didn't. He said the fossil record shows two clear features. One, sudden appearance, and two, stasis. When a new creature is discovered in the fossil record, it shows up suddenly and fully formed, with no gradual forms that led up to it. That's sudden appearance. Then its basic form stays the same. It doesn't evolve, and that's stasis. All kinds of fossilized creatures show sudden appearance and stasis, including creatures like crinoids, mosasaurs, beardworms, horseshoe crabs, lobsters, and trilobites. Rather than gradual evolution, the fossil record shows each animal form suddenly appears. Trilobites have perfectly formed body parts right from the start. They show up suddenly with no ancestors and have some of the most complex eyes that ever existed on Earth. Does that sound like slow, gradual evolution? They first occur in Cambrian rocks, which often represent the first deposits from Noah's flood. But even when found high above Cambrian rocks, trilobites still look like trilobites, as though they were created to reproduce more of their own kind. In The Origin of Species, Charles Darwin hoped future fossil finds would show examples of in-between creatures demonstrating evolution. So far, it's just more stasis. Creatures appear suddenly, fully formed, and they keep the same form. And that's what we'd expect to find. God's fully formed creation we read about in the book of Genesis. Just how old is the universe? Well, it doesn't have an expiration tag, but we can make some estimates by looking at things in our universe, like the moon. As the moon orbits the Earth, its gravity pulls on the oceans, causing tides. And as the tides pull on the moon, they cause it to move about 1.5 inches away from the Earth each year. That means that 6,000 years ago, the moon would have been about 800 feet closer to the Earth. Not a problem. But if the Earth and moon were over 4 billion years old, then they would have been touching, and that wouldn't have been good. So the moon shows that the universe is several thousand years old. That makes sense when we also look at comets. They lose large amounts of material each time they pass around the sun, so they wouldn't even be around after billions of years. And the inner regions of spiral galaxies rotate pretty fast. If the galaxies and the universe altogether were billions of years old, they'd be too twisted up to look like they do now. So everywhere we look in the universe, we see evidence that shows that what the Bible says about its age is consistent, and that the heavens really do declare the glory of the Lord. Nothing is more precious than a newborn baby, and perhaps no greater wonder exists than a human life growing within another human life. A baby thrives in a total water world for 9 months, which is utterly impossible for any person to live in immediately after they take their first breath. A baby in the womb has blood vessels with a different arrangement and structure than an adult's. This helps him get enough oxygen to grow. The baby also produces hormones that cause the mother's body to meet the baby's specific needs. The placenta, a temporary organ, takes nutrients from the mom's bloodstream in such a way that the baby's needs are met first. And in the last weeks of pregnancy, the baby releases even more hormones to tell the mom's body he is ready to be born. Mother and baby are deeply connected, yet two very separate beings in an all-or-nothing reproductive system. A step-by-step evolutionary process couldn't lead to something so complex. God put these special features in place so that we could not only survive, but thrive. The psalmist declares, "For you formed my inward parts. You covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made."